According to Redfin, homebuyers must earn at least $115,000 to afford the typical U.S. home. In this video, I'm going to talk about why that is false. Welcome to the Black Real Estate Dialogue. My name is Sam, and I'm an out-of-state real estate investor. Thanks for coming to the channel. Before we get into this video, make sure you like this video and make sure you subscribe to this channel so you're aware of more videos that I put out. Make sure you stay to the end of this video so you can hear about what this means for you as a home buyer, as well as what you can do if you're concerned about prices and interest rates. All right, let's jump right into it. So as I mentioned, according to Redfin, a home buyer must earn about $115,000 to afford a typical U.S. home. And this is about 15% higher than when they last ran this report about a year ago. And it's up 50% since the beginning of the pandemic. And so that is the highest amount on record, the highest increase on record. But the problem that I have with this is that it's painting a broad stroke and it is giving a prescription, if you will, about what is happening at a national level. But the thing is, real estate is very local. So it's important for you to know what these numbers are locally. A national report really doesn't mean anything. So there are plenty of cities throughout the country where a tiny percentage of people even make 100,000. So for some of you hearing 115,000, you might not even know anybody who makes that much. Another statistic that they put out is that the median salary for Americans is 75,000, which again, I think that means absolutely nothing. What matters most is your local market. How much do you need to make to afford in your local market? How much do you make in relation to what you need to afford? Hearing that the national average or median is 75,000, it's not saying much about you and what affects you and where you're trying to invest. Other thing they discussed is that the typical U.S. home buyer's mortgage payment is $2,866, which is an all-time high. And again, I don't think this means anything because real estate is local, right? You got to understand what's going into this data is information from California, information from Ohio, information from New York, all different markets with all different things going on, all different price points, salaries, so on and so forth. So that's my opinion on that. And again, I believe it's important to connect with the agent, connect with the lender in your area who has that boots on the ground information about what's happening where you are locally. I wouldn't pay too much attention to cities that you're not looking to invest in because it means nothing compared to what you're trying to do. So I mentioned local data. So let's take a look at some local data that was further down in this article. Metro areas where income has increased the most. So in both Miami and Newark, New Jersey, homebuyers must own 33% more than a year ago to afford the typical home, the biggest percent increase of the major U.S. metros. Now, this is pretty significant because, those are both large markets and 33% is a lot. So if you were in a situation where you needed to make 33% more to afford a home within your price range, then that becomes a problem. So home buyers in Miami need to earn $143,000 annually to afford the area's typical monthly mortgage payment of $3,580, and Newark buyers need to earn roughly $160,000 to afford that area's $3,989 payment. Other metros where necessary income has increased by over 30% it's increased over 30% in these areas. So Bridgeport, Connecticut has increased to $183,000. Dayton, Ohio, which is actually where I invest, is $60,000. Rochester, New York, $66,000. Hartford, Connecticut, $95,000. So here's what I'll say. This is good for investors, right? Because if the average person is unable to afford a home, what are they going to be doing? They're going to be renting. So if you are looking to invest in any of these markets or you live in any of these markets and you can afford to invest, it could be a good time for you. And presumably the rental pool will increase. And so, to hear that it's increased by a third where I invest, that's pretty crazy. And it explains a lot about the demand for rentals there. So I have good news. In this report, and I'm going to link this article in the description of this video, in this report, they do have a section with the top 100 most populous metros and the specific data. So they include the data of what you need to buy the typical home there, as well as how much it has increased over the past couple of years, which I think is pretty good and good local information for you to pay attention to. As promised, here are a couple ideas that I have if you are someone who's concerned about the interest rates, you're concerned about the prices where you're at. I have a couple ideas that you may want to consider. So the first thing is consider qualifying with someone else. Consider qualifying for a mortgage with a trusted friend, with a family member. You can either be roommates and split the mortgage, or you can get a multi-unit property and you live in different units, right? So that might be something to consider and make it more affordable for both of you. Obviously, you need to have the correct paperwork, have a lawyer, go over everything so you are agreeing on how things will go in the future and buyouts and all those types of things. But that's one option that you can explore. And I know for many of you, you may have a family and you might say, well, I can't be roommates with someone else in our home, or maybe I don't have a family member who's open to doing that. Something else that you can consider is doing a multifamily. And if you have a family, depending on where you live, there are situations where they have a front house and a back house or several houses on a lot, and they consider that a multi-unit property. So maybe that's something that could be conducive to your family situation. And maybe you can go in with a friend or a family member to qualify and split that mortgage. And in a best case scenario, let's just say you have a front house, you have a back house. Maybe the back house has 3 units and someone lives in one of them, you guys rent the other 2 out, and someone lives in the front unit. So I just want to encourage you to think outside of the box. Creativity is going to be your best friend in this market. There are plenty of opportunities and not as much competition as there was when rates were low. So if you could be creative in how to find a deal, it can definitely work out for you. And lastly, if you live in an expensive area, I encourage you to consider investing out of state. That's what I did. Live in California, invest in Ohio. And so if that's something that you're looking to learn, I'm actually hosting a workshop on November 1st. We're going to talk about how to find the right location, how to assemble your team, how to find and analyze properties, creative financing strategies, and much more. And so if you're interested in that, go to outofstatemoney.com/workshop. You can also click the link in the description of this video for more information and to apply. And that's a wrap. So as I mentioned, don't be discouraged by the numbers. Make sure you look at the local data and then you make the best decision from there. All right. Thank you all so much for watching another video. Make sure you like this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. And if you haven't heard about Fannie Mae's new 5% down program for multifamily properties, the video is right here. Click here and check it out. Thank you so much. Talk to you soon.